listen to this and talk and hilarious.
Last 30 minutes, the judge sent the jurors home for the week in the Ross Harris murder trial. A third day of deliberations failed to result in a verdict. Channel 2's Ross Cabot is live outside the courthouse in Brunswick. Some experts, though, think they're getting close. Ross?
It was about 30, 40 minutes ago when the judge gathered the members of the jury together and sent them home for the weekend. No court tomorrow because of Veterans Day, so a long break for them. That after they looked at a third video at their request that some believe pointed right to the most serious charge in the case.
And they asked for the monitor to be brought right up to the railing of the jury box so that they could see every little thing.
Jurors wanted to see one angle of a key piece of evidence in the case, surveillance video from the parking lot of the Home Depot office where Ross Harris worked.
And it's very difficult to see the details in this video because it was taken from an angle which is so far away. But they were paying very close attention.
The video shows Ross Harris returning to his SUV at the lunch hour, hours after he'd strapped Cooper Harris into his car seat. His child still inside as he tosses a bag of light bulbs into the Hyundai. This is our enhanced version of that video. Jurors requested to see this version where Harris's SUV is in the far left corner. Could he see his son inside as he tossed in that bag? And did he stop seconds later to watch another person walk near his SUV?
To me, that is why they wanted that particular piece of evidence, is to see what he could have seen or not.
Legal analyst Esther Panitch watched jurors watch the video. She believes they may be debating over the most serious charge in this case.
Those go to malice murder. Those show that he knew his kid was in the car and kept walking away.
Okay, Richard Herman, the jury's taking longer than a lot of people expected, and they're out for the weekend. It's been a few days. Does the defense have a chance here?
Well, if you look at this, 22 days of testimony, 70 witnesses, okay? Long weekend coming up. You know, you would think that this jury was going to come back late today or sometime after lunch with a verdict, and they didn't. So what does that tell me? It tells me that, you know, you viscerally, you look at this case and you say, you know, why isn't this guy in prison now? What are they possibly doing? This stupid jury, what are they doing? And the problem here is that, you know, he's being prosecuted for murder, but he's being prosecuted under different portions of the statute for murder in the state. And the first one is malice murder. And what does that mean? That means that the prosecution, and by the way, in all these criminal cases, and I'm not just saying this because I practice federal criminal defense, but, you know, it's the highest burden of proof in our jurisprudence system beyond a reasonable doubt. Think about that. So you have that burden of proof. Now you charge him for malice murder. What does that mean? That means that this guy intended to kill his son. You have to find that specific intent. And remember, we talked earlier about Comey analyzing Hillary Clinton, and he said, look, I don't believe she had the intent to commit a crime. That's big. In criminal law, you need that intent to get a conviction on pretty much every crime. Some crimes, it doesn't matter, but most crimes you have to prove that the person intended to commit the crime. And here, you have to prove, and did the prosecution prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he intended to kill his son? And that's one area of a jury charge. And it's a kind of sophisticated jury charge. And, you know, you hear a jury charge, and a lot of lawyers don't understand jury charges. So lay people, they sit there and nod their heads, but you know they're really not understanding it. So, look, that's number one, malice murder there. And did he intentionally kill the child? I mean, that's big. If you can prove that, then it's over. If the jury believes he intended to do it, that's murder. However, it's also murder if a person dies in the process of him committing a felony. So in other words, if we go rob a bank, you and me, okay, and we robbed the bank, and as we run outside to the car, you die, okay? I'm going to get charged with felony murder because this was in the commission of a felony that you died. So you're responsible, and that is murder. And any way you put it, murder, murder, murder here, he's never going to see the light of day again. So just understand that. So what they were saying was they moved under a child cruelty aspect to get him up to a first-degree cruelty to children, which is a felony. And the cruelty to the child is leaving the child in a car locked up like that, completely neglecting the child. And if they can prove that to the satisfaction of the jury, not that he intended to kill the child, he was just reckless in his treatment of the child, they can come back with a murder conviction, okay? So they've got that leverage in the case here. Now, the video that they looked at just now that we heard, the jurors are trying to see, could he see the child in the car? That goes to the malice. That goes to the intent. Did he intend to kill the child? If the jurors believe that he could see the child in the car when he left, then it's going to be that malice murder. They're going to convict him on that. But I think you have some holdouts right now, and I think some of them are wrestling with the jury instructions. And look, it was an overwhelming case, and there were about 5 quick points that were brought up that are going to be considered by the jury in this case here. And one is Ross's double life, the fact that, he was living, a crazy double life, one as a father and a family man, and the other as a philanderer with visiting sex sites and carrying on like a wild man. So the jury has to wrestle with that. Number one, does that sway their opinion of him? And could they even nullify a jury instruction and just say, I can't take it anymore. This guy, that's his son, and he's got to die for it. He's got to be convicted for it. So they're going to consider his double life. They're examining what he said at the time that he reported the child dead, and when he was first interviewed by police. They are really looking at his demeanor and how he was acting to try to deduce whether or not this guy, is this what he wanted, like a Casey Anthony thing? Did he set this thing up? Did he really want it? Does he genuinely show remorse? Is he upset? His son's dead. How is he acting? Is he acting like someone who is distraught, or is he acting like a cool, calm character? And so that was presented to the jury. And then you had his ex-wife come in. Just think about that.
Yes.
The ex-wife who finds out for the first time that he is, banging these women, and he's carrying on sex sites, and he's doing all kinds of crazy things. And she hates him. I mean, you think about it. She hates this guy. She hates him with a passion. I mean, her whole life was turned upside down. She lost her child, and this is the animal she's married to, okay, who she finds out now after years of marriage. I mean, it's just devastating. Yet,
But
she gets up on the
hear her testimony? Okay,
yeah, she gets up on the witness stand and says he loved the son. It would never have deliberately harmed him. That's her testimony. And as they tried to fight with her,
strong testimony,
and move her, and the defense attorney tried to engage her and antagonize her, she said, look, I hate this guy. He ruined my life. I hate him, and I hope I never, ever see him again. But I stand by my testimony. That's pretty powerful. If you're a juror, if you're one or two jurors and you hear that testimony, I think that goes a long way. So, look, that was that testimony. Murder is murder. You got to look at the jury instructions. Was it intentional murder? Was it reckless? And was it reckless to the level of a felony for neglect of the child? That's where it's at. And then again, they're looking at his demeanor. Was he crying? Was he faking?
If you were counsel for this guy, would you have used that in the closing about that, the testimony about the ex-wife?
Yeah. I mean, I would have been very big in my closing, and I would have said, look, this is a woman who gave her life to him. They had a child together. She loved him, and her world came out, and it's over, and she's never going to be the same. Yet she comes into this courtroom and tells you this, And then if I'm the prosecutor, it tells you that he never would have harmed his child, and and if I'm the prosecutor, I then come in and rebuttal and say, it was very moving, her testimony of a woman who really never knew her husband. She never knew him, so you can't rely on it. And that's devastating, and I'm sure that's how it went down in the rebuttal. So, look, I don't know where this thing is going. I know in my heart I jump out like all our listeners and you and say this little child roasted in the car and died, and he's responsible one way or the other. He's responsible. He's got to pay, and he's got to pay legally. I'm not talking morally. I'm not talking when he ultimately dies. I'm talking about right now. He needs to pay, and so at the end of the day, I'm looking for a conviction here.
Okay, Mary wants to say something. She couldn't call in, but she said, in light of the fact that he didn't testify on his own behalf, what impact do you think that this will have on the jury? I know it should not have any bearing on it, but I think it might, she says.
Mary asks the billion-dollar question in every criminal case. It's the billion-dollar question.
Yes,
what
sir.
impact does it have on the jury when the defendant testifies or refuses to testify? And the general rule is, ain't no way you're going to put your client, the defendant, on the stand in a criminal case. You're not going to do it because FBI agents can get up there and get caught in lies. Other prosecution witnesses, detectives can get caught in lies, and the jury forgives them. They forgive them.
Right.
But if the defendant gets caught in a lie, then the jurors say, you know something? If this guy would lie like this, we can't believe anything he says, and it's over. Secondly, they analyzed him. They did some rounds with him. They prepped him. They did some mock testimonies with him. He's not a good witness. He's not likable, and he would do more harm than good.
He's
a little arrogant. He fluffs things. He boasts. He minimizes things, and he just wouldn't come across good. And the only real way you put a defendant on the stand is if your case is tanking. If you make an analysis that you can't win the case without...
What is that, like when they throw the touchdown, what is it, Hail Mary, they call it, right?
Exactly. It's like Rodgers, at the end of from the 50-yard line, heaving one, and that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. It's so risky and so dangerous. But just know there's a very strong jury instruction that the judge gives to the jury, and